Hello, my name is Odie Hawkins, and for those of you who've been watching me and my book tour, my international book tour, they will know that what I'm going to be doing today, this afternoon, whatever time it is that you're seeing this, is introduce you to several, well actually two more of my books. Two more of my books. The tour will end at the end of this month, so that means I have a few books to go. The book I'd like to introduce you tonight is called Matador Negro Azucar. It means the black matador, sweet black matador, Azucar, sugar. I took the name from so many great prize fighters and other athletes who they call Sugar. Sugar Ray Robinson, Sugar Ray Leonard. So why not in bullfight have a sugar black, a black sugar? What I'm going to have to do, I should mention before I go any further, is that the front cover was done by this marvelous artist, Tony Gleason. We date way back. I'll get into that at some later point.
Artist and author?
Ah.
Artist and author.
Oh, indeed. I failed to mention that his greater fame, as far as I'm concerned, stems early on from his art. And it was only recently that I found out that he is a novel writer. Published several novels, of which name I cannot remember.
Crime fiction, though.
At this point.
You can Google Tony Gleason.
Tony Gleason, and take it from there. The back photo was done by
Nima.
Mr. Nima. Resfar
Right.
Nima. And I'm not in jail, although I have a striped shirt on. I just happen to have that one. I want to talk about it a little bit. Zola Salena-Hawkins, my co-conspirator in this, is bobbing and weaving behind the video camera. I wonder if I could bring you up here to share a little bit of this esoteric info with me.
Of course. Hello.
Let me start off by saying this. Years and years ago, like 1964 or something like that, in Chicago, I became interested in the bullfight. Okay. In Chicago, the only bulls you could ever see were in the stockyards, so
of course.
You would never fight them because you want to eat them. But I was working at the Drake Hotel, and there was a guy there who looked like Cantinflas, a Mexican comedian. We went to see Cantinflas. And he said, hey kid, I got a ticket to see the bullfight. I can't go. I got to bake the cake. He worked in the bakery. Said, you want to go see it? World Playhouse on Michigan Avenue in Chicago. For those of us who know Chicago, you're right there. I think it's at 12th and Michigan Avenue or something. I go to see, it just happened to be a documentary on the life of Manolete, his life and death. Okay, now you haven't seen a few bullfight films.
Thanks to the aficionados, yes.
Let me make it plain, at this point, I am not a dyed-in-the-wool aficionado. I could go through years of my life without seeing a bullfight, but since I have seen them, many, over the years, I can say it's something that is there and you have to pay attention to it. I think it's a little bit like some people climbing Everest.
Well, you're waning away, but I'm just.
Oh, you say waning away?
Well, yes. Because you've been into it for so many years. But I'm very excited and looking forward to the next meeting that we can go to. Barring our heavy schedule.
This is what happens when you take your wife to join a bullfight club as a bit of research. Los Aficionados de Los Angeles is one of the oldest bullfight clubs west of the Mississippi.
Yes.
And we became members how many years ago?
Several
5 or
years
6
ago.
years ago,
Right.
something like
There's
that.
Jimmy and Honey. And
Okay, I wanted to get in the club in order to see some bullfight films, which are always in short supply because, you know, some people think it's a horrible butchery of the animal. Some other people say it's an art. So it's ritual, it's whatever you want to make it. Anyway, I saw the life of Manolete and I thought, man, this is, and that started me on to it. At that point, for some funny reason, they used to show bullfight films in art theaters. I went to see the life of Luis Porocuna, the art of Carlos Arusa, Manuel Capetillo, Alfredo Leal, all of them, name everybody, even the crazy Cordobés, Don Luis Dominguin, Antonio Ordonez. I came out to California in 1966 and I started going to bullfights in Tijuana from time to time. Well, they didn't have really, if they had a really great figure, I went to see Antonio Ordonez from Spain. I wanted to go see that. The idea kept building in my head of doing a story about a bullfighter who doesn't come from Spain or Mexico or one of these Spanish.
Well, you know, when you think about bullfighting, you think it has to be from Mexico or Spain, but who was the one we met, that Bulger? The one that wrote how he liked the Black Matador?
Okay, this was an Irishman from Arizona.
Yeah.
Okay, but predating him, they've always had black bullfighters that nobody ever knew anything about because they weren't strictly identified. The Giron brothers, for example, I think they're 4 or 5 brothers from Venezuela. If they walked down any street in the United States, they would just be considered brown-skinned African Americans. And, you know,
even Chinese bullfighting.
one of the guys in our bullfight club is the brother of one of the first Chinese bullfighters. His name was Hong.
Wow.
Matador Hong. And his brother is continuing to do the research to try to bring the fact out that he had a Chinese bullfighting brother. However, he has an uphill battle because a lot of Chinese don't want to hear about Chinese bullfighting. You know.
That's too funny.
Anyway, the idea began to sort of simmer in my head about putting together a character who comes from someplace like Chicago. What I had in mind was sort of an Obama-esque kind of character. Someone who defied convention, who managed to do things that he wasn't supposed to do. And I came up with Matador Negor Azucar. The man, well, I'm starting off with a young man. He's about 17, 18 years old.
Wow.
A little bit old to be deciding that he wants to be a bullfighter because you started 12, 13.
Children, basically. Wow. Yes.
Yeah,
Children.
I mean, well, like, you know, like ballet, where they start very early. I think he's about 19 when he decides to forsake Chicago, to leave the snow and ice and all of that, to go to Mexico and become a matador.
Yes.
And of course,
Youth is wasted.
Youth is
on
wasted
the young.
on the young. Of course, everybody in his family and in the surrounding county thinks that the guy is
It's going nuts.
completely nuts. And he goes and he does something in order to get into the fight.
Oh, But before he left, he was practicing. He made like,
always. He made himself, in bullfighting they have two specific capes. One is called the muleta, which is the large cape, and then the muleta is the small cape, half moon shape, and the muleta is the capo. Let me redouble my Spanish. The muleta is the small moon-shaped cape.
Okay.
The capote is the large cape.
That's like a capote.
The capote is the large one that everybody sees being flashed around like some lady's skirt, and so all that. Ole, I see. Look out. Put a cape in your hand and
and an imaginary bull.
I can see it. I wouldn't even want to fight an imaginary bull. But the man just simply picks up, goes to Mexico. He's going to make it for a year. The prices are relatively cheap. His friend who worked in the kitchen, the pastry cook, who looked like Cantinflas, gives him a few little connections and so forth. So he winds up and goes to stay in a project in Mexico City. For those of you who've been to Mexico City, you know that there are two areas that are very much like the Robert Taylor homes or the Cabrini Green. One is called Tlatelolco, and the other called is Tepita. And that's all I have to say. All I can say is picture Cabrini Green or picture Robert Taylor homes, and you got Tlatelolco or Tepita. He goes, he stays, he decides after a very short time he can't stay too long with these people because they're into cocaine, marijuana, and a lot of tequila. And not good for the budget, for the budding bull fighter. In order to
prostitution on the side.
It's what's called a nasty household.
Oh my goodness! Okay.
Nasty and naughty.
Naughty household.
He decides on one Sunday to go and pull off something that a lot of Mexican youngsters and Spanish youngsters have done from time to time. It's called being espontáneo. The espontáneo is somebody who jumps out of the stands and pulls the cape out, and maybe he can make 2 or 3 passes with the bull, and if people approve of him, you know, they ole, he might get a manager, somebody who has seen him do this. I can't think of the bullfighter's name, Efrain somebody, who was a great bandillero. He came out of the stands and placed the sticks and had the bull so close to him that the bull just ripped across his shirt, but didn't rip his stomach. He just tore his shirt. And the public went crazy, and from that point on he became a great bullfighter, well paid. This doesn't happen to our friend. I'm not going to tell you his English name. Let's just simply call him Matador Negro.
That's a guy.
On this particular day, he is seen by one of the most corrupt, he's picked up by a manager named Flores, and I'm using a kind of a joke there because Flores, of course, means flowers, and this guy is not a flower. He takes our boy and puts him in the bull ring. He gets a trainer for him. He gets him to learn many passes over the course of 4 or 5 or 6 months. But it's not a hard job because Matador Negro has been taking quilts and sheets at home and whirl them around, so he knows how to do something.
He's been studying videos.
Studying videos.
The
you know, when you become manic about something.
Yes.
He gets away with little scratches here and there, not a full-fledged gore, and he gets tossed a bit, but he's not being paid. And after a few months, he realized he's getting room and board,
And his suits.
And his thigh loose.
Yeah.
He's getting his suits and everything, but he's not being paid. So he's really basically become, should I say it, a bullfight slave.
Yes.
And after a period of time goes by, he decides, well, okay, I can't take that anymore. Meanwhile, he has a very intense affair with a very famous artist named Xochitl de las Reyes, who bails him out. She pays off the debt that he owes to Senor Flores. He comes back to the United States and invents a bullfighting game that you can play on your computer. Don't try it. It doesn't exist yet. And somebody might try it.
Yeah, there are some now.
I'm sure.
Okay.
I'm sure.
Not quite like his.
Well, you know, you can get the virtual reality thing going. And he does that and becomes very wealthy. In addition to that, he has left a son behind when he left Mexico City, which he didn't know about. He's a responsible guy. He would have offered to marry the woman, so that she said, no, I'm rich and so forth and so on. So
you have to go back to the States. You can't stay here.
You can't stay
I'm
here.
not going back to.
Well, she's a Mexican woman through and through. She's a Mexican nationalist. Her heart is. A lot of people don't really understand that kind of thing. I think because they see pictures of Mexicans and other South Americans coming here, thinking this is the promised land. But then there are other people who wouldn't think of coming here.
She has some Aztec background too.
She was a famous artist.
Right, and was she an Aztec?
She, like a lot of Mexicans who might like to deny it, I don't know why, but her background is Indian. She's a Mexican, Aztec, Indian. Those are the indigenous people in Mexico. They're not the Spanish people, like somebody wants to think, well, my name is Gonzalez, so my people came from Spain. No, and they are not, I hate the term, and I'm going to get into a little controversy for saying it. They're not Hispanics. Hispanics are people who come from Spain. Hispanics are people who've been colonized by Spain, who accepted their colonization. And so instead of calling themselves Mexicans, I was in the Trader Joe's the other day. I saw a guy who had on a wonderful t-shirt that said, I am a Mexican. I am a Mexican. Not a Spanish-speaking Indian, but I'm a Mexican. He probably spoke Toltec or Aztec or Mixtec or something, but he was letting us know that this Hispanic thing you put off on us, very interesting, very interesting. Most Mexicans, and I'm going to leave it go at this, most Mexicans who are trying to come across the border identify themselves as Mexicans. After they've been in the United States for maybe a generation, they become Hispanics. It's like, you know,
the term in this country, well, you know, from colored, Negro, Black, African American, you know, what's the flavor of the month, or what's the flavor of...
Well, we find it settled on, I think, the true flavor, which is African American. We don't come from Black land. We didn't come from Negro land. We certainly didn't come from Hispanic land.
Colored land?
Yeah, okay, so, you know, if we are people of African descent, if everybody else in the country, they can be called what they call
Irish American,
Irish,
Polish
Chinese
American, Chinese American,
and suddenly they get
Japanese American,
a very well-known comedian.
German American.
I'm not going to call her name, but she wrote a book at some point saying, don't hyphenate me, don't call me an African American, because that's un-American. And I feel, no, wait a minute, where you coming from? Okay, stop that.
Back to the bullfight.
Matador Negro. The book was read by a bullfighter. I don't want to put him into the middle of this, but
go ahead. Yeah, I'm sure.
Okay, Matador Diego Obolja, bullfighter from Arizona. A matador. He had the alternativa. He became a bullfighter. True and simple. He read the book. The man was having a eye problem at the time. I think he was had cataracts or some difficulty reading. He actually read the book and wrote me a wonderful 3-page letter with a few criticisms in it, which I took, and explained that I had not gone far enough with the book. So, once again, I asked Tony to go to work because I wanted to have a fuller version, and this book, Matador Negor Azucar II, would fill out everything that was not in the first one. As you can see, they are substantially different sizes.
Matador Negro. Just to bring in the cover a little bit more, and the back.
Okay. Once again, like I said, Tony Gleason got to work. Zola Salena took the blurred picture. And what I've made an effort to do in this book is to explain a lot of what goes on in a bullfight from my perspective. I know that there are not a lot of African American bullfight fans, but like everything else in this world, almost like anything else in this world, if it's here, I think we deserve to know a little bit more about it.
Plus, one other thing, that I enjoyed with the bullfighting club is that we met Honey, a woman bullfighter. Okay, and you don't even think of women fighting bulls.
Okay, going back, they've had several famous ones. One of them is a woman named Conchita Centron. There was a model named Ford from this country who went down into Mexico and fell in love with bullfighting. She was tall, statuesque, blonde, and she did very well, I think, until she was gored. As they say, if you play with the bull, you might get the horn. And but anyway, I can't think of her first name, but her last name was Ford. And there have been several others. So far as I know, I have not been able to detect any African American woman.
Okay, I was thinking of the actress that got gored.
Okay, you're talking about our friend Ava Gardner, who always seemed to find herself a bullfighter somewhere. And
attractive.
The event, the thing that you referred to had to do with her being gored in the cheek, fooling around in Spain. And for the rest of her career, you see a real nice plastic surgery done, but they still gave her, must have been a really deep goring, because she had a big dimple in her face in her later career, in her later movies. I was thinking of Night of the Iguana with Peter, who was it, Richard Burton.
Right.
Richard Burton, and when they go to the camera close-ups, you'll see that. I'll let it go at that. For those who might be interested in buying Matador Negor Azucar II
or
Matador Negor Azucar I.
There are also ebooks. You can purchase ebooks, but they can be purchased on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, or if you go to your local bookstore and mention the title, the Black Matador Sugar, or the Black Matador II by Odie Hawkins. Sugar 2 by Odie Hawkins. You can purchase the book, or they might even be at your local library. So check them out, and I'm sure you will enjoy them, because it's not all about the goring. There's a lot of history, especially in Matador II. We talk about Aztec foods and
pre-Columbian
foods, and so it's a little romance. There's where a woman supports a man's dream to become a bullfighter. He walks away, has an affair in Mexico, comes back,
what you gonna do?
And she loves him.
Come back.
And he loves her too.
Yeah, come back. It's an involved story.
Right.
We're going to leave here in a few minutes, but before we do, we'd like to introduce you to someone else who is occupying this space with us. I sit here from time to time and read, and several figures have occupied the space behind me. This has been one of the most animated and interesting ones.
He does. He fascinates me because he's not as tall as the other one, but he's about half my height, and he just always has this interesting expression on his face. You know, so
I was sitting here the other night, and I actually thought he had half returned to me. And you know,
I wouldn't be surprised.
all I can say is that we've talked about this. We see these as ancestral figures, so they're not spooky demon things, and there's nothing to be afraid of unless you were afraid of your great-great-grandfather.
You know, and the fact that I appreciate whoever created these, okay, and their ancestors and their descendants, and hopefully the art and the skill has not been lost to technology.
Hopefully. I don't know what kind of technology it was that put this together. We struggled to try to find out as much as possible by reading all of the books on African sculpture and art and this and that. But it never seems to be able to to explain the whole aesthetic of it, the whole business of it, the soul of it. In this case, I had gotten to the point of actually naming this man Herman because I knew a guy in the army that he resembles.
Really? I didn't know.
I mean, it was 1,000 years ago, but Herman was a little bit like this. He was kind of straight up and had kind of an enigmatic expression on his face. You could never tell whether he was sad or happy.
Okay, yeah.
In this case, he conceals his feelings very well.
He has the, what do you call them?
In Cuba, they call these yesa, the striped, the tribal identifying marks on his head, on his cheek, but also these are part of it too. He has some either tools in his hands, and I don't know what the cross is about. It might mean that
maybe a priest.
Well, he came along after Christianity was introduced to West Africa.
Well, they had the cross though a long time before.
Or the cross predates
Christianity.
Christianity. Everybody has a cross. You remember, I think at one point they had in Buddhist design, they had a swastika.
Oh yeah.
And somebody decided in the Second World War that they had to stop using it because it seemed to identify Buddhists with
negativity,
with
right.
Nazis.
Right,
So.
definitely. All right, Herman, huh?
Okay, well, we're going to leave you at this point.
Thank you.
The three of us.
Yes, yeah. Well, at least we finished our gardening for today.
Oh.
Yeah, so busy.
California is unseasonably cold, but it's not quite as cold as some other places. It's been raining a lot, which means that all of the stuff we planted around this house for emergency rations, like corn.
Our corn crop did not do well.
The corn crop just quit.
Yes.
The corn crop decided,
Like,
all right,
too cold,
it's too
grow.
cold,
Yes.
I'm not going to bloom, skip it. But I'm still looking at beets.
And the carrots, they look good.
Well, collard greens.
Of course.
For those of you who want emergency rations that are going to help you remain clean inside, plant collard greens.
Collard greens.
They'll help you out.
And you get them raw. You
Hey,
can wash them off, eat them raw. You don't have to really cook them.
we got to go.
Okay. Thank you very much for allowing me to join you. Thank you, Herman.
Herman.
Okay. And thank you. Bye.
Matador Negro Azucar! Ole!